Howdy folks, my name is Santa Fe Rail Guy. This is Train Simulator 2019, and for an introduction we're going to do a trip to Barstow, or from Barstow, no, to Barstow, sorry, from the yard. And while I do that, I'm going to cut some parts because obviously this is going to be a little bit long, but we're going to take our basic freight here. So you got our train brake applied at 67%, our reverser's at 0, our throttle's at 0. So what we're going to want to do is put the reverser forward and put the throttle up to at least 13%. Hit the bell, hit the horn, and then release the brake. There we are. And off we go. Gonna be rolling really slow here, and we gotta control our speed because we are in the yard. And we've got a decent length of cars, nothing too terribly big, just enough to get familiar. This is sort of a basic route. We are doing Union Pacific, and oddly enough, UP does operate here, but I believe that these yards are actually Santa Fe BNSF, so not entirely sure what's up with that. I could be wrong, but we can turn that bell off now. Almost forgot to do that. Sorry if that annoyed anybody. Okay, looking good, looking good. Once we get out onto the main line a little bit, I'm going to cut, and then I'll cut back to when we're at an interesting point. Here we see an inbound. Short inbound freight. The switch should be where we want it. So a little bit of background for me, because this is my first video here. I'm a rail fan. As of this video, 26 years old. I was born in 1992. I grew up on the Northeast Corridor, Amtrak's Northeast Corridor, this section between New York and Boston and Rhode Island. And I grew up watching trains like the Acela Express and regular Northeast Corridor trains. So I grew up pretty much loving passenger. Not a whole lot of freight activity in my area, unfortunately, because the Northeast Corridor, that section really didn't have a lot of freight. There was some, just not a whole lot. And most of the freight was from the Providence and Worcester Railroad. So that's pretty cool. These are ES44AC locomotives. I don't remember if these are Dash 8s or 9s, but they're in that Genset series. And they're pretty neat. I can already see my frame rates dipping, and I'm not surprised by that. Okay, once the last wagon is clear of the yard, open up the throttle and let's get going. Enjoy the scenery, but be mindful of the line speeds. Okay, and our line speeds are down here. So currently it's 15 miles an hour. So like they said, once we clear the yard, and we can switch to that camera over here, then we should be good to go. We've got a caboose. There really is no need for a caboose other than it's just kind of here. Alright, now we got 30 miles an hour. We can switch the cab view. We can operate all of these switches in the cab, but I find it's easier just to use the HUD. And I know people use a minimal HUD sometime from videos I've seen, but I prefer to use just this one. So we're gonna notch up a little bit to about 38%. Got some frame skips here. You'll have to excuse that. That's part of the game's just optimization. And now we've got some real speed here, so we're gonna put it up a little bit further. We could put it up to full, but there's really no reason for me to do that, excuse me. This is mostly downhill from here, so I don't have to worry too much about grades. If we were going up the other way, heading towards the yard that we just left, then I'd probably have it about full throttle, somewhere around there. But for right now, the train is exactly where it needs to be. I'm going to reduce throttle just a little bit. Again, more frame stutters. We'll go into the cab view. That tends to be a little bit more realistic here. And our signal is clear. And there should be a crossing coming up, and once we come up to that crossing, I'm going to cut here to the next part of the route. Not quite reaching 60 frames a second, but the reason I keep mentioning frame rates is because my setup isn't incredibly powerful, but I think it's good enough and the video should turn out okay. And I don't want this to be a terribly long video either. Alright, so here we do have a crossing. Or no, I am completely wrong. That is a siding. That's my bad. So forget I said that. But with this dirt road over here, we should have a crossing coming up pretty soon. The only thing I'm not too keen on with this route, in particular the Cajon Pass route, is from what I've seen, there's no whistle post markers. Like the W signs you see on the tracks, those are to indicate when you're supposed to horn, so that it shows when a crossing is coming up. And my thing down here has no indication of crossings, only of different switch or signals. Alright, getting a little high on speed, so I'm going to reduce throttle. Ah, here's a crossing. Very nice. Disengage the bell there. Alright, and I will see you guys a little bit later. So one thing I wanted to mention briefly is, for those who are unfamiliar with how a train works, or a North American freight train at least, You don't have gas pedals, you don't have brake pedals, everything is controlled by levers. More specifically, the levers down here. So everything that you do is made with adjustments. Okay? So if I want to slow the train down or speed the train up, I do that mostly through the throttle. Now, speeding up you do obviously through the throttle. More throttle application, the more RPMs go up, the more power goes to the wheels, etc., etc. If I want to slow the train down, I can slow down the throttle, and I can release the throttle in some cases. But in other cases, I may need to apply a little bit of brake. Now, the brake that matters is the train brake. You have 3 brakes here. You have your train brake, your locomotive brake, and your dynamic brake. The one that really matters is the train brake. The train brake stops the whole train. The locomotive brake is if you're just running the locomotive by itself. But the train brake is the one that will stop everything. So, I want to make sure you use that. Now, I am decreasing in speed here. If I want to go up a little bit, I can notch the throttle up, put up to 25%. You see my speed is starting to climb, so we're at the RPMs. And it's climbing at a steady rate because I didn't increase it by that much. If I want to do it a little bit faster, I adjust it more, 38%. We'll start to climb a little faster. And again, you want to watch this speed limit, because if you go over this speed limit, anything over 55, you'll get speeding penalties. Kind of similar to how it works in real life. There are track speed limits. And if I want to slow down, we drop the throttle down to 25%. That's not enough to slow it down. Drop it down to 13%. Still not enough to slow it down. Drop it down to 0. You'll start to see the numbers go backwards. There you go. And if you want it to go faster, you can apply some brake, but I'm not going to do that just because I want to keep a consistent speed. So what I do is gradual throttle increasements as necessary. So it's pretty basic. I mean, you eventually get the hang of what you need to do to brake the train, slow the train down, and when you need to slow it down, when you need to increase it. Grades also help. You can pay attention to the grade meter here. If there's a higher, steeper grade, you're going to need more throttle in most cases. And if it's mostly downhill, then you may need no throttle at all and just ride the brakes as necessary. So that's one trick I have. I haven't quite learned dynamic braking yet, so I can't speak on that just yet, but maybe in upcoming videos I will. So, but as for this run, just focus on throttle and train brake. So that's all I have for that. Alright, so I'm going to cut away, and I will see you guys when we're towards the end of the route. So, see you then. Alrighty, folks, we are coming up on the end of our journey. We've only got about 1.85 miles left. It's been a pretty smooth trip. I didn't really go too fast. I only hovered around 48 for most of the trip at 13% throttle, so that was pretty easy. So now we have to approach the siding. You can see I've got the throttle at 0. I'm slowing the train down as much as possible, because once we get there, it's probably going to be around 15 miles an hour, possibly less. So, alright, and I'm already speeding, so apply a little bit of brake. I got caught speeding a little bit there. That was kind of a sudden change. But it's okay. It happens. Not much you can do about it unless you know when the speed change is coming up. we should be coming up to the siding any minute now. Less than a mile left. But this is a good little short trip for learning Cajon Pass and seeing all the cool scenery. You can see we have red on our switch, which indicates to stop, which we will do. And I can see the siding right now. Once we get on there, we'll apply full train brake and bring it to a stop. In fact, I'm going to apply a little bit now. Which was a smart move because now we're moving into the siding, which looks like a yard, but it's not. Just a big multi-track siding. Alright, now the game is saying we're off path, and I don't quite know why. I don't think I was supposed to switch. Maybe I was, I don't know. Alright, well, it's saying I've left the path. That's unfortunate. Should have checked the switches before I went, but that's basically it. I would just apply full brake there, and we'd be done. So, I'm going to call that for this first video. Thank you very much for watching. And if you guys liked it, be sure to leave a comment down below. I'm sorry for any misinformation or misspeaking. This is my first video of a train simulator. I've been playing these for years. Well, I haven't played them in years. I haven't played since Microsoft Train Simulator, but I'm still just getting back into it after years later. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little demonstration. I'll see you the next time I do a video. Have a good one.